The amazing facial reconstruction of a Bronze Age woman discovered crouching in a 4,200-year-old grave. So that's 2,200 BC, basically. The reconstruction of upper largy women from Scotland made with a 3D printed skull and layered plasticine clay, imaged by Oscar Nilsson. The skeleton remains of the upper largy women were found in a quarry in Scotland, and now scientists have reconstructed the Bronze Age woman's face. More than 4,000 years ago, a young woman who died in what is now Scotland was buried in a crouching position within a stone-lined grave. She remained buried for millennia until excavators at a stone quarry unexpectedly unearthed her bones in 1997. Little is known about the woman, dubbed Upper Largy woman after the Upper Largy quarry, but now a new bust-like reconstruction reveals how she may have looked during the early Bronze Age. The reconstruction, which went on display September 3rd at the Kilmartin Museum in Scotland, shows a young woman with dark braided hair who is wearing a deerskin outfit, and she appears to be looking at someone nearby. Making a reconstruction, I usually think that we're looking into their world, meaning they don't see us, said Oscar Nilsson, a forensic artist based in Sweden who crafted the woman's likeness. He said, I thought it could be an interesting idea to twist this a bit and actually thinking that she can see us. And as you can see, she looks a bit critical to us. I don't blame her for that. After the discovery of Upper Largy woman, a skeletal and dental analysis revealed that she likely died in her 20s and experienced periods of illness or malnutrition. Radiocarbon dating found that she lived between 1500 BC and 2200 BC during the early Bronze Age, according to the museum. Meanwhile, a look at different isotopes or versions of strontium and oxygen from her remains suggests that she grew up locally in Scotland, but the team was not able to extract her DNA, so her ethnic heritage, including her skin, eye, and hair color, is unknown. However, archaeologists found sherds of Beaker pottery in her grave, hinting she was part of a Beaker culture named for its people, bell-shaped beakers. And research suggests that the Beaker culture started in Central Europe with people whose ancestors came from Eurasian steppe. Eventually, the Beaker culture reached Britain at about 2400 BC. DNA evidence indicates that the Beaker culture replaced most of Britain's inhabitants, including the Neolithic communities that had built monuments such as Stonehenge. The carbon dating suggests she might be a descendant of the first Beaker newcomers, Sharon Webb, director and curator of Kilmartin Museum, said. For the reconstruction of Upper Largy women, her skull was CT computer tomography scanned and then 3D printed in Scotland. However, she lacked her mandible, her lower jaw, and her left side of the cranium was in quite fragmented condition, Nilsson said. So the first thing I had to do was rebuild the left side of her cranium and then to create a mandible, a rather speculative issue, of course, he said. Then Nilsson took her age, sex, weight, and ethnicity into account, as these factors help determine tissue thickness. So in this case, a woman about 20 to 30 years of age, signs of undernourishment in a period of her life, and a probable origin from the region, he said. Nilsson pulled from a chart of modern individuals who fit these characteristics, then used their tissue measurements to begin sculpting the reconstruction. Pegs placed on the replica skull helped him measure the tissue depth, which he then covered with plasticine clay as he molded the facial muscles, and based on her skull's contours, he noted that Upper Largy woman's eyes were wide set and that her nose was broad and probably a bit turned upwards. She also had a rounded forehead and a broad mouth. I found it interesting that once she was reconstructed, I did not see that much of her malnutrition, Nilsson said. She had a very rounded facial skeleton, which helped her looking a bit more healthy than she may have been. However, he was clear that the colors were all qualified guesses based on other burials from the time in the region where the DNA was in better shape than this one. Webb called the reconstruction absolutely amazing. we wanted her expression to be asking questions of the visitor, wondering who they are and what their lives were like, so that visitors might also ponder her life. Opera Largi's women remains are now sensitively reburied in the same position and orientation she was likely buried in 4,000 years ago, Webb said. The visitors can see her reconstruction museum's permanent exhibit. And this is by Laura Gegel on Live Science. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.